Hey guys, welcome back to the Falco. Today's video is yet another one of those disappointing day, disappointing result. Tottenham Hotspur doing Tottenham Hotspur things. 1-0 defeat at home to AFC Bournemouth. And today's performance was utterly lacking in almost every department. So this video, normally what I would do is take a little bit of time, watch the game back, and try and come at it from a little bit more of an analytical point of view. Whereas today, I'm not going back. I'm not watching that game again. I pay my money to be hurt by Tottenham Hotspur. I don't get paid to watch Tottenham Hotspur and get annoyed. And yet again, we go into an international break with Spurs coming off the back of a defeat and coming off the back of a really poor performance. So let's dive in. Let's have a quick look at it, and I will try to find some positives if I can as I go along, but I don't promise anything. Let's kick off with huge congratulations to Bournemouth, who were excellent today. They really were very, very good. Tactically excellent. Deployed their system the way they wanted, imposed themselves on us exactly as they would have wished, and yeah, they deserve huge congratulations because they effectively did to us what we did to Man City, and they were dominant. Statistically, the game doesn't bear looking at. I wouldn't, if you haven't looked at the stats, don't, because you're not going to want to. Bournemouth were very good value for their 1-0, and it should have been a lot more at the end of it. So well done to Iraola, and I'm sure there's a tendency or an opportunity for Spurs fans to be thinking, what if and if only, and we shouldn't think that way. It's one game, it's one result. Iraola's had a lot longer with a lot of those Bournemouth players, and this is only Thomas Frank's third league game, so we'll try to maintain a bit of a level head off the back of it. I think for me, one of the most disappointing things, you've just come off a game where you're playing at home, and we know there's no easy games in the Premier League anymore, but you've been outplayed and you've been outcoached. And for me, the biggest disappointment is that the players that were out there on the pitch, whoever they might be, and there were enough more senior, more experienced players out there in that starting lineup, nobody could find a solution. Nobody could see what needed to be done. Nobody could take the game by the scruff of the neck, because you've got that first 45 minutes, it was going really, really badly. And there's only so much that the manager and the coaching staff can do from the sideline. Sometimes the players have to take it upon themselves to do things within the framework and within the system, or maybe outside of what they've been told to do, to try and find solutions. And for me, there just wasn't that. They just looked absolutely clueless. They really didn't know how to find a solution to Bournemouth's press, the way they were tilting the field and sending us, very often sending us down a blind alley on the left-hand side. They were very clearly told to stymie Porro, pin him back if they could, stop him from being a playmaker from deep. Did it brilliantly. Semenyo pulling out onto, he played on the left-hand side. It just goes to show he's a threat. He can play across right, left, and in the 10, probably up front as well. And he had an excellent game. And like I said, in those situations, you might be tempted to say, well, change it, manager, change it. No, you are out there, you've got 45 minutes, doesn't matter, the team's been picked, you've got to get out there and you've got to find solutions to what you're facing. And they were there, the solutions were there. It wasn't that Bournemouth played the perfect game and we couldn't have played around it, but there are issues that we've already identified in all the videos we've been doing and all the the pods that we've done looking at the system. We know that we are struggling to move the ball forward. We struggle playing through the phases, and that nowhere was that more evident than today. The difference today, between today and the Burnley game, was the quality of the opposition. Whereas Burnley had their chances, and at 1-0 Burnley had plenty in that game, in that first half. Bournemouth scored first, scored early, and then executed their game plan, and they were excellent, and they should have been up by many more goals. So yeah, really, really disappointing for me that we couldn't find solutions to what Bournemouth were doing, which was very, very obvious. They should be applauded for the bravery of their press, playing, with 5 up effectively when we had the ball at the back, particularly from outs, from goal kicks. They were really, really good, but we were slow. We had one early fizz within the first kind of minute or minute and a half, where we got up the pitch and we had a go, and after that it was all downhill. That was almost as good as it got for the entire game, because they were super brave and then we were very lethargic. There were moments where Kudus was not coming back, and he was not supporting, and he was not plugging gaps in front of his fullback, and where we've seen that before, leaving Porro very isolated. The midfield to the double pivot didn't come across, and then at one point when Palhinha did come across, and this I think was for the goal, Palhinha did come across, the gap and the channel ball that was there, that was on repeatedly for Bournemouth. They were doing really, really nicely, moving it inside and then bouncing it in, playing that little half space or channel ball. We had no answer for it, and they got in 2 or 3 times into really good positions with that ball, and that's super disappointing not to read that. Our back line couldn't hold its line, and we were getting caught out. Players were getting edgy and going early, and then others weren't reading it, and they were holding up high, and we had this really awful kind of sawtooth back line for long periods of the game. And yeah, it was, it didn't make for a good watch. One of the symptomatic things that I saw was just how slow our restarts were. We seemed to have nothing, as opposed to, we had just pump it forward, lop it up the pitch, long throws, we went full Stoke City, full Woolwich Wanderers, without looking for another solution. We didn't move the ball with any zip. We didn't just get the ball down and play and start to try and move it about, try and move Bournemouth about, give them more to think about. And you could say, well, we don't have a number 10 and we don't have the players to do it. We absolutely do. The players that were out on that pitch could have executed much better than they did today. It was very disappointing. There was only a couple of players you could probably say came out with any credit whatsoever. And we'll quickly go through the players in a sec. But yeah, we were, really, really poor. And those slow restarts, we'd get a free kick in our own half, and just watching Romero or somebody stand on the ball and look around, who am I giving it to? Who am I giving it to? And, took ages. It was very, very frustrating. Again, we see a situation where we're not brave enough getting on the ball in the midfield, because of Bournemouth sending so many players up into the press. There were huge pockets of space. Papsar at the tip of the spear in the midfield 3 never received a straight ball. We never straightened it up, moved it across the back or via the goalkeeper, and we never straightened a nice ball up into him. Either we don't trust him with it, which is, we understand that Papsar can be, can give away possession, but if that's the case, then the midfield 3 has to rotate. Bentancur needed to go in there and get the ball. And then there were other occasions where I wanted to see one of our midfielders dropping in between the centre halves to pick up the ball. Bentancur did a lot of it later on, but again, he was then receiving it. Bournemouth did really well. They, at that moment in time, they wouldn't throw the extra man up, so it didn't pull them out of shape, and then they sat in shape. And that is the point where somebody has to get brave. You have to bang that ball into somebody with a bit of conviction, and they have to try and take it in contact and try and take a player on. Or you have to get players close to each other and start playing off each other, little 1-2s, or little rotations. Bournemouth did it really, really well when they were trying to attack on us. So it was really, really disappointing for us to play in that way. If we go through the 1 to whatever it was, 14-15, Vicario, by the end of the game, came out with a lot of credit for the saves. He did the stuff that he's brilliant at, some excellent saves. If it wasn't for him, we'd be 2-3, maybe more down. He produced some excellent saves in the game, but again, his limitations were there to be seen. There was one particular flap, I think it was from a long throw coming across, that led to a really good chance. And then his his kicking. He really does struggle again. Bournemouth tilting the field, forcing us down the left-hand side, making sure that if Vicario was on the ball, he was on his left foot and he was facing that way. He's not going to be as good with his distribution, but even his goal kicks, they were brilliant at being really brave up against Richarlison. They were super aggressive with him, really, really played on the edge to make sure that he couldn't secure possession and bring other players in. And then they would get midfielders dropping in front of him, so he had no space whatsoever and no time. I don't think the referee helped us, particularly in some instances. He made it a very bitty game, which certainly, benefited Bournemouth. But Vicario's kicking, and it was really brought home to me in the second half when Petrovic popped the ball down on his line and then, sent an arrow, an absolute spear out 70 yards right onto Semenyo. Perfect for Semenyo to bring the ball down against Pedro Porro before he went off. And that not once did Vicario send a ball that favoured one of our players. It's always a ball into an area that you've got to run and try and make something out of, or it's spinning up, or it's too high, or it's too slow, always favouring the opposition. So his kicking really left a lot to be desired today, and it's not all on him. There should have been a lot more bravery from the team, so taking it off him. He shouldn't have to kick it up the pitch that many times. We should be playing that ball and trying to get forward. So anyway, I'm clearly disappointed, and I'm maybe being overly harsh, but yeah, his kicking was not good, and it's not good. His kicking is not great. Porro had a hard day. I've seen a lot of criticism of Porro. I think he had a very difficult day. Semenyo was excellent. They got players around him. He didn't have enough support, but overall, compared to what we've seen previously, actually, I don't think he had the worst game. But yeah, he had a difficult day, and we certainly looked a little bit better when we changed it. I'm glad to see Udogie come on. He is obviously not match fit or sharp, but he looked okay when he came on, and having Jed Spence in the right back area also helped us a little bit, solidified things a little bit in that channel. But by then, Bournemouth were tired and they were dropping back anyway, so it didn't make that much of a difference. I felt Romero had a poor game, certainly by his standards, certainly in terms of his leadership. Like I said, he was slow on the distribution, didn't seem to know who to pass to and what to do. He really didn't have a great game. Certainly Bournemouth was set up to make sure that you couldn't play any of those incisive, balls from the back into midfield, or skip the phase and try and play into the front man. They were wise to that, and they shut that down. So we had to find another solution. Mickey van der Ven had a very good game. He was excellent. If it weren't for him, using the afterburners and doing what he does, he got back in, snuffed out several counter-attacks, a couple of big challenges. He was very, very good. Won his headers. I think he was, pretty much faultless. He did what he could, and it's not his game to be a creator out of centre half. He's not got the same skill set as Romero, and they knew that. And they sent him down little blind alleys. They got him really, really boxed in and close to his fullback, or close to the wide player. And they said, okay, if you're going to try and run through 2, 3, or 4 players, use your pace. We will outnumber you. But what we're going to give you is very, very short passes into tight areas where Jed Spence or Brennan Johnson or whoever were, they were not well set to do anything with it. So other than that, not really his fault. I thought he had quite a good game. Jed Spence overall did okay. Again, it wasn't the best day for the team all round. He didn't really have that much 1v1 stuff to do. He did help us out on the right hand side. He did keep going all game, but yeah, there was no creativity from his position, and we certainly didn't get him up the pitch and free him up enough to do anything of value from an attacking sense. The midfield three, Paulinho wasn't working. He's not a deep lying playmaker. He made a few challenges, got in a few times, but yeah, him picking up the ball, it doesn't help you advance the ball. What you want from him is just either breaking stuff up or just very quickly being used to bounce passes off of, keep things moving and give it to other players to produce. Bentancur had a difficult afternoon. There were some things he did well. You know, he got on the ball a lot. He was always willing. There was some good defensive bits and pieces, tracking back. But again, a couple of loose passes at times, which I think he's overly criticised for. And he, you know, he didn't create. He didn't pull the strings. He didn't move the game about. He didn't set the tempo. Which I'd have liked to see. I'd have liked to seen a lot more of him getting in behind that really aggressive press and demanding the ball. Get that ball into him on the half turn and see if he can drive us forward. Perhaps was largely anonymous, gave away plenty of fouls, but you know wasn't doing the winning stuff. So, you know he was completely marked out of the game. He wasn't given the role for him to be effective today by the opposition largely, and he certainly didn't get on the ball and make anything happen. Brennan Johnson had a very difficult day. You know, he was poor, gave away possession a lot, didn't really take on his man at any point. And yeah, because of the sentiment towards him, when he's having a game like that, he gets hammered by the fans and everyone's really upset with him. So yeah, he didn't have a great game and he should be criticised. He should have done better. But again, people will use that to exemplify how much they hate him, which is a shame. Richarlison couldn't get on the ball. They were really aggressive with him. He tried hard. He ran around, but the ball didn't stick. I think the only shot we had, the Berrival shot, is one where it didn't stick, but it went up to him and it kind of ricocheted off him, bounced off his shins into Berrival's path, and he was able to take it on and get a shot. It's a shame he didn't do a bit better with that. Kudus was an interesting one. I think a lot of people are, blinded by the bits of skill and, some of the stuff that he does, but they marked him really, really well. His end product wasn't there today, but he did have some really nice moments taking players on, trying to beat 1 and 2. But again, sometimes just need to offload, don't need to do that much. And like I said earlier, he looked lethargic, he looked slow. There was a moment where they got a counter-attack, they had a transition, they got a chance of him, asking for a foul. So he just stopped and let them run away with the ball. So regardless of what the referee, whether he gives it or not, you don't do that. And I felt, he didn't help us out defensively as much as he maybe could have. The subs that came on, Berrival did okay. He came on. He certainly made us tick a little bit more once they'd sat back. He was in and around it, trying to make things happen. Odegaard, I'm super disappointed with. He kind of set the tone for his performance with one of his first touches, which is, when to take a touch, just lets the ball slide past while we're on a counter attack and just go out for a throw. Tries to chase it down, can't. I'm very disappointed with Odegaard. I expect a lot more from him. He doesn't, when he gets the ball, unless he's got runners around and off him and there's plenty of space, he doesn't look like he's about to create something. He doesn't look like he's about to take his man on and do something very good. I'm a little bit disappointed. He had one chance as well, ball bouncing to him, put your laces behind that, decides to go with his side foot and just sweeps it, curls it over the bar. Wrong technique for me, not what was required there in a busy penalty area. So didn't come on and affect the game the way he should have. Matisse Tell came on. One of the first things he did was not really do any skill, get the ball taken off him, people grumbling, but after that he kind of grew into it, did a few bits and pieces. He had that snap chance, went quite far wide I think, but he had that snap chance with ball swept over into his zone on the edge of the box, and he kind of went for it first time. But again, didn't unduly threaten or destabilise the opposition. And who else? Did anybody else come on? I lose track. I think everybody came on in the end. Udogie, as I said, good to see him back. He actually did quite well. I think he deserves credit for coming back from injury and playing the way he did. He got, put himself about, got in there, got up the pitch, tried to make things happen. He did okay. And yeah, I'm probably forgetting somebody else. But like I said, I've been going for 20 minutes just complaining about today's performance, and that's not what I want to do. But hopefully there was some insight into why I think we really struggled today and what Bournemouth did really well. We're going to need to do a lot better. We're going to need to find the solution for playing through the thirds. We're going to have to find the solution for progressing the football. We're going to have to find the solution for drawing teams onto us and then doing the fast break stuff and the vertical attacking. We've got to be a lot braver and a lot better quality on the football. Xavi Simons is going to help, but he's not the answer to today's issues. He might be able to produce a moment of magic that might get us a draw in a game like today, and obviously a point's better than nothing, but he doesn't fix the underlying issue. And again, I will continue to be understanding and say that Thomas Frank and his team have not had the chance to layer on the attacking stuff, but we're going to need to see it fairly soon for us to feel some confidence that it's there and he can coach a team that is expected to be on the front foot against others, not just coach a very reactive team who can set out tactics against really good opposition. Because we've got high quality players, if you commit to his defensive actions and his changes in systems against the top teams, you can often get results because you defend really resolutely, you do really well, and then you've got quality players that can score goals. That's great. But against other teams, you are going to need to impose yourself, and this was always the question about Thomas Frank. Can he coach that? Can he step up and into that? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's give him plenty of time. Let's give him plenty of support. But this is the stuff that I really want to see from us. And yeah, as ever, we go into an international break with a couple of weeks of feeling down about Tottenham. And like I said, I'm not disappointed because we're going into an international break and it's 2 weeks and we could have gone top and we could have had 9 points and it could have been 3 from 3. I'm disappointed because the manner of the performance was awful. We didn't look like we can problem solve on the pitch, and we didn't change it significantly with the players we brought on and with the changes to the system and the changes to the way we were playing in the second half. So we didn't problem solve off it either. That's what disappoints me. That's why I'm so upset at the end of the day after losing a game, not because once again we've missed an opportunity to go into an international break on a high and we've gone in with a defeat instead. Anyway, I'm going to stop whinging about today's performance. It wasn't a good one. We'll leave it there. Let's hope we maybe sign somebody else before the end of the transfer window. We've got a couple of days left. I think we need reinforcements. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't, and that's really going to put a lot of pressure on our coaching staff. But at least we got Siemens in the door, and I think he will be an important player for us. So let's leave it there. Enjoy the international break, and as ever, come on, Tottenham.